So this is probably the scene you will see more often. Be it in the washrooms of hotels, restaurants, airports. Believe it or not, this is not how you wash your hands. So let's practice the correct way of washing your hands. Let's do it together. Yes, with me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
and 12. Now that's how you should wash your hands. It's shocking that even in affluent societies, people don't understand that just placing your hands under running water is not washing your hands. Hand washing is a form of behavior. It is established through childhood experiences, parenting, and knowledge. Just changing these behaviors is a very complex process. And doing the same in societies which lack basic infrastructure to practice hygiene needs expert solution. So what is an expert solution? I think it's all about how well an answer fits with the question. So who finds these answers? Usually an expert. But does that always happen? I don't think so. So as you can see, I'm an artist. I have always wanted to create things, but everyone wanted me to become a doctor. My family, my neighbors, my relatives, their neighbors, even my maid. So I became a doctor. In my medical school, I was never satisfied. That constant urge of me doing something more meaningful took me far away from this rat race to Gadchiroli. I was inspired by Dr. Abhay Bang, who is a public health scientist, very world-famous public health scientist. I decided to spend 2 years in this one of the most underdeveloped, tribal, Naxalite-affected districts of India. I was still not sure whether health is my calling. But then I decided to stay in clinics, stay in villages, and I started observing patients. I was overwhelmed in Gadchiroli. Every problem there was severe. Addiction, malnutrition, infectious diseases like diarrhea. In India, diarrhea is the second largest killer in children under 5. Yes, diarrhea. A simple disease which is very easy to diagnose, easy to treat, and easy to prevent. Yet, it leads to 1,000 children death every single day. There are 2 solutions: water purification and hand washing. Water purification required a revamp of entire water management system of the village, whereas hand washing, which prevents nearly half of the diarrheal infection, was very personal, very simple. It put people in charge of their own health. Meanwhile, one of my other studies revealed that in a village, only 6 out of 64 families use soap for washing their hands, whereas all 64 families had soaps. They used it for cosmetic purpose. That means availability of soap and availability of water was not the concern. For us to get protection from diarrhea, we just needed to combine these 2 things. Understanding the problem of the community starts with going into the community. So I went in the community. I wanted to observe the habits of these people. I wanted to understand the importance of hand washing in their lives. So for that reason, I went for some field work and observed some open defecation sessions. I realized for the community, wet hands is clean hands. Clean looking hands were clean hands, and unsoiled hands were also clean hands. So dirty hands lead infection, pathogens inside the body was way beyond their understanding. Moreover, having soap and water at 2 different places in their home was also not going to help. So to deal with this, I needed something as simple as a wash basin in every single home. But it was not possible. At this juncture, a friend of mine suggested me about Tippy Tap, made by Dr. Jim Watt. I instantly thought this was the solution. Tippy Tap is a very simple device. It's just a can of water, a soap, and a stand which puts all these things together. I wondered if this design was so simple, why it was not widely used. So I constructed a Tippy Tap and using local material and immediately asked everyone to do hand washing with Tippy Tap. I observed each hand washing session. I took meticulous notes. I wanted to understand every problem that people faced while washing the hands using this device. I realized that there are 3 problems we needed to focus on: using the device sturdy, making it user-friendly, and keeping the low cost, because that was the beauty of the device, keeping it low cost. We made some 22 small but very crucial changes in the device. Small changes such as I use a cap of syringe so that it regulated water flow and it saved water. The final version of device had all that was required for it to become the best hand washing wash basin. It was the best local wash basin, and I thought that I had found the solution. We call the device Nirmal. Nirmal means pure and clean. So now I thought we have the Nirmal, and now we are ready to go. So we installed our first Nirmal in a school. I realized that constructing the device along with kids was making it very interesting for the kids. It was involving them. It increased the ownership of the device. Through this process of building Nirmal, we also taught them some simple concepts like use of pulley, gravity, metals and how they melt and their points and so many things. We also calculated amount of water used per hand washing session. So the things were becoming interesting. Meanwhile, I observed that all these children are washing their hands in their own ways. I wanted something more standardized for them to wash their hands. We referred to World Health Organization's recommendations on hand washing. These are the same steps that we all followed in the beginning of the talk. But forget kids. Even many surgeons don't remember these steps. They forget to follow these steps. So I again had to go to the village. I had to observe all their practices. I had to observe their games. I picked some words and themes that made these children happy. Finally, we created our hand washing song. The hand washing song became very popular. It became driver of the change. And kids love playing this.
फायटिंग, घट्ट दोस्ती, दुसऱ्या हाताची दोस्ती, डाव्या हाताचा चुन्नू मुन्नू, उजव्या हाताचा चुन्नू मुन्नू, मछलीचा पोट फोडायचा, डाव्या हाताची मछलीचा पोट फोडायचा, डाव्या हाताची घड्याळ, उजव्या हाताची घड्याळ. नमस्कार. निर्मल काकी जय. निर्मल काकी जय. निर्मल काकी जय.
This was back in 2008. So for these children, we had a Nirmal in their schools. But for them to get complete protection, we needed Nirmal at their homes. And this was going to be a big challenge. Because their parents were not ready to invest this 35 rupees, which is half a dollar, which is the cost of this device. They were not ready to invest that much of money. So we observed that these kids had some money which they used to buy chips, candies, or even tobacco. I wondered, can we use this money? We initiated some demand generation campaigns in the village. We promoted the existing Nirmal users. We made them hero. We made examples out of them. We called them Nirmal Doots. Nirmal Doots means messengers of cleanliness. We started saving money. And looking at our efforts, their parents also started supporting them. So we created Nirmal banks, which essentially is provided subsidies for building Nirmals for these kids. So Nirmal, which started with schools, it went to their homes. Every Nirmal installation was becoming a big event in the village. We called elderly women from the family to do some puja. Puja is some ceremony around this Nirmal. We wanted our gods to help with the promotion of Nirmal. These women then promoted other family members and other villages and encouraged them to wash their hands. So every family where there was a child soon had a Nirmal. And Nirmal was growing. Meanwhile, we observed that some of the teenagers in the village kept making fun of the device. Some of them vandalized it. And we had to find someone from the same village to take care of the device. I thought, can we involve the same teenagers for this purpose? So I started having discussions with them. I realized that these are very powerful kids, and if I want them to listen to my agendas of hand washing, I first needed to listen their agendas of their life. There are various questions about life, marriage, career, sexual practices, addictions, recreations. The list was long. The key here was I needed to understand their world first and then build on that. So we purchased a $2 frisbee. We started this new game called Ultimate Frisbee in the villages. We did not even know, but this game became very popular in the villages. We just added one single thing. At every winning moment during the game, children will say, these teenagers would say, Nirmata ki jai, praise be to cleanliness, the same slogan which we use for hand washing. You just saw that. So that's how we connected these teenagers with the hand washing programs. Some of these teenagers then started maintaining the device. We call them same, Nirmal Dudes, the older ones. Nirmal, we started with a pair of hands, then to the kids, then went to the schools, then went to the homes, and then to youth. It was a whole package. And this took nearly 1.5 years, 1.5 years for me to reach there. It was a lot of time. So it was time to scale up Nirmal. But then we again thought, instead of we going to people and telling them to wash their hands using Nirmal, why not let these Nirmal Dudes do this work? So then eventually all our Nirmal Dudes went to these communities, trained them on hand washing and different ways through which we can get infection and so on. Nirmal spread gradually, and by the time I completed my 2 years in Gadchiroli, it had already spread to 17 villages of Maharashtra. Later, I learned whatever I did in Gadchiroli was a science. Behavior change is a science. I went to the US to study the models and theories of behavior change. Whenever I shared my experiences in Gadchiroli with my professors and colleagues, I was told that I use Bandura's social cognitive theory, health belief model, trans-theoretical model of change, and whatnot. The fact was, I did not even know this model back then. I was not an expert. I was just a curious, honest, and empathetic listener, and a keen observer who wanted to understand the problems of the community and just wanted to try whether he can help them with solving them. I returned to India, and currently I'm working in Uttar Pradesh, rural parts of Uttar Pradesh. I'm a co-investigator on one of the largest studies in behavior change, one of the largest randomized controlled trials in behavior change in newborn health. And these 2 amazing years of my experience in Gadchiroli are still being my mentors, my philosophers, and my guides. Now, Nirmal is being used in different parts of India. Different NGOs, schools, and organizations are using Nirmal as part of their programs. I'm connected to many hand-washing initiatives. Sometimes I mentor them. You know what I enjoy the most? I realize that working with people in their communities, solving their problems, and co-developing solutions with them is something I really enjoy. And the biggest part I know that I don't have to be an expert to do that. Same thing with you. You don't have to be an expert to find expert solutions. Thank you so much.